we will try to avoid that whenever possible. So, Exodus chapter 21, begin verse 1, verses 1 through 11. Now these are the ordinances which you are to set before them. If you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve for 6 years, but on the 7th he shall go out as a free man without payment. If he comes alone, he shall go out alone. If he is the husband of a wife, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gives him a wife, and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall belong to her master, and he shall go out alone. But if the slave plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out as a free man, then his master shall bring him to God. Then he shall bring him to the door of the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him permanently. If a man sells his daughter as a female slave, she is not to go free as the male slaves do. If she is displeasing in the eyes of her master, who designated her for himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. He does not have authority to sell her to a foreign people because of his unfairness to her. If he designates her for his son, he shall deal with her according to the custom of daughters. If he takes to himself another woman, he may not reduce her food, her clothing, or her conjugal rights. If he will not do these 3 things for her, then she shall go out for nothing, without payment of money. Okay, what do you think? Why can't things be the way they used to be? Huh?
Well, I don't know, that's awful complicated.
Hi, Robin. It's confusing. I'm glad it's confusing. I'm glad it sounds like a different world being described.
I guess the question I would have would be, is this to make it better than it would be without their slaves? There's no question they're slaves. Now, do these rules make it better for the slaves than if we hadn't? If you see it that way, that's different than saying the rules were given kind of haphazardly, rather than trying to at least give some assistance to the slaves in order. So they have some, and the other part is a Hebrew slave. I don't think of Hebrews as being slaves except when they're in captivity. That doesn't.
They were to each
saying?
other, yes.
Okay. It's just so different. That's why I'm wondering, are these rules set in a way to make things better for the slaves than not?
They're set there to be better, make things better for Hebrew slaves.
Right.
So there is racism within the slave laws.
So we look at that, and, I shake my head, slaves, Hebrew slaves, one to the other, and what the rules are and all that, it's complicated, but if it's designed to make it better than it would be without, at least it gives them some, and in a way, it's in a way too, that if the master doesn't do things the way it's stated here, then whether it's male or female, they do have some rights. They have some.
There's racism and there's sexism because there's different standards for the men and women as well.
But there is the case where if the master doesn't do one of these things, then the male or female will be free. So they have to follow certain standards, I guess, and that's what you put it. If they don't follow those standards, then their slave goes free. So I guess if there was a plus to it, that's the only plus I can see.
There's a social commentator, I'm not going to name names for on either side of it, who said that the Bible is basically a handbook on how to own slaves. And there was a critic of his that said, no, it isn't. It's not like that at all. There's truth on both sides. I mean, there's certainly a lot of talk about and a lot of characters in the Bible that where slavery is it is a reality in that human experience, and the fact that it is not a reality in most of the world today is an advancement in our culture, and I think an advancement in our understanding of how God wants us to treat one another, to love. If you love your neighbor as you love yourself, you wouldn't want to be enslaved. You won't enslave someone else. So